When I think about all my previous relationships and friendships or connections, coaching spaces I've held with people going through a lot and just needing to be able to release a lot of tension and emotion that they're experiencing. One takeaway that I've grabbed that I think is really important if you want to learn how to process your emotions properly, and by way of processing your emotions properly, be able to process the emotions of others properly as they come to you, is by being honest. Honesty is such a lost art in today's culture, and yet is something that is so necessary, because if I can't be honest with myself about what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing, then I should not come into conversations with other people expecting them to be honest with me. And the reason why I can't do that is because I don't even know exactly what to point out authentically, due to lack of integrity and honesty with where I am. But if I were to take it a step further, I would also say this too, is that it's just easier to give advice than it is to walk it. It's easier to say the right thing than it is to do the right thing. That's why we got more TikTokers than we do disciples. We got more social media influencers than we do people who are actually following after Jesus. Because it's easier to get on a mic and say these things. It's one thing to live it. And I think ultimately we will learn of the legitimacy of who people really are over time, as life goes on and as they continue to steward where they are. But ultimately, instead of trying to pay attention to where the fruit is of other people, we have to observe our own. Like, we can easily get so caught up in projecting on the other people and correcting other people and trying to take the log out of other people's eye, when in reality we got to be willing to do the same cleansing and rinsing of our own hearts and minds every day if we're actually going to have impact on others around us. And so, again, honesty, in other words, self-awareness about who you are, where you are, where what you're doing, and where you're going, right? And I think what this looks like applicably is you just being willing to take a second as as an experience happens, as emotional dysregulation is creeping up, as your heart rate is accelerating, as anxiety is trying to pick up, as your thoughts are scrambling, as different pains, different tensions start coming up. One of the things that I've learned to encourage others that I meet with and I coach and all those kinds of things is, one, grounding yourself. Okay, that's an application. And by grounding yourself, we're really just going to take a moment, literally, and sit down. Like, we got to be willing to just sit down. And when we take a second to sit down, this is actually going to give us the opportunity to be present in the moment. And as long as we're willing to be present in the moment, we're going to be able to identify all the emotions and feelings that come and go and examine them one by one out of curiosity, not out of high expectation. So, sit down. It's real quiet. And I'm going to ask myself the question, is there anywhere in my body that I'm feeling tension right now? In this moment? Oh, okay. I got some tension in my chest. It felt a little tight. Felt my heart rate kind of accelerate. Oh, I don't know, man. I got some tightness in my calf for some reason. It's kind of crazy. The more that I'm doing my body scan. Oh, okay. Real interesting. Right? That's interesting. Okay, cool. Well, what does that area being intense remind you of? Is there a specific event, a specific moment that it reminds you of? Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe it reminds you of the assault you experienced. It reminds you of the fight you had. It reminds you of the sporting event that you participated in. It reminds you of, you know, a certain injury that you took or that you had, a certain sickness or struggle that you experienced, whatever it was, right? Okay, cool. So I'm acknowledging that. All right, well, what do I feel around that? I'm able to go back that far and identify that. Okay, what am I feeling right now? Feeling some pain, discomfort, uncomfortability. Maybe I'm feeling some sadness, unprocessed grief. There's a part of me that still blames me for what happened. There's a part of me that still feels real shameful about what's taking place. There's a part of me that still feels like I let other people around me down because I wasn't able to fulfill what I said I would do in that moment. I feel like a failure. What are the descriptions that you're going to give to yourself? And I think what this does in terms of growing self-aware is actually give us the opportunity to put words to what we're feeling, because that's what self-awareness really encourages us to do, whether it's through audio journaling, whether it's through handwritten journaling. It just encourages us to get connected and reconnected to our emotions, our bodies, our minds, to be able to actually bring about a level of stability and stop moving in a huge bundle of chaos or controlled chaos, because we're just used to it, but it doesn't mean it's beneficial, right? So self-awareness is number one, right? I have to be honest, like, especially when you're holding in space for other people. I think you really can't grow into holding space with other people if all you're going to do is listen to respond instead of listening to contain. And I think a part of putting yourself in a position to listen to contain and make room for where they are, there could be some things that are shared in the midst of that conversation that reminds you of you, that's going to cause you to turn a mirror on yourself. And I think those are the beautiful things about creating such spaces to be self-aware and process things, because what you learn is, dang, I see a lot of me. And so now, instead of maybe coming in here, listening to a bit of the story and having my cook session ready to just throw your way, maybe I'm actually now able to participate in the conversation by actually giving you something that maybe I didn't experience myself, but I'm able to learn how to give, even if I didn't experience it myself, such as validation. Like, I'm able to give you an opportunity to be validated about what you feel, and not ignore that, not overlook that, not minimize that, but just simply leave enough room to say, yo, you've been through a lot, and I encourage you to feel that. Even if it's to yourself. Like, we do this all the time for other people. What about for yourself? Wow, Sean, like, bro, you gotta be gracious to yourself, bro. You've been through a lot. Like, can we just take a second to acknowledge that you've been through a lot, man? Right? And I really want you to take that in and breathe that in and take deep breaths as you're regulating your body that way, because this is what's giving us the opportunity to process a lot of heavy stuff that maybe we didn't necessarily feel we could do before, because we didn't have the tools, or just from previous people, we learned how to deal with our emotions from our parents. Our parents just worked, right? They just went to work. They just went on, made money. That's how they dealt with their emotions. And because of that, it's spilled onto us. And now here we are in a new information age that we're trying to navigate, and emotions isn't really the best part in our department. And so this is the whole purpose of this entire conversation, is to just help us see the impact and value behind processing and what it can look like in real time. So number one is self-awareness, being honest about who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and where you're going. Hey, family. I'm so glad that you watched this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Listen, if you want to see more clips like this, definitely don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video. This was a part of an entire podcast that we did, which should be somewhere located on the screen, as well as letting you know that your boy also has a community for a safe space for men on a Skool community that is designed to help you heal and become your best you in all areas: faith, relationships, energy, and economics. If that's something you're interested in, click the link in the description below and let's connect.